Hey everyone, welcome to More Than Meets These Guys. This podcast is a journey through Transformers from the beginning of the animated series, with two old friends coming at it from different perspectives. Together, we will go episode by episode with the occasional extra to look at how the show holds up or if it's a trap of nostalgia. We'll be looking at all things involved in the episode, whether there were real world factors that crept into the writing or if the cartoon episode was typical afternoon cartoon fodder. I'm Evan. I'm a lifelong fan who's familiar with all aspects of the franchise, while Ed is familiar with Transformers, but it was really nothing he got into when he was younger. So thanks so much for joining us. Ed, how you doing, dude?
I'm doing fantastic. I've had a very busy few days, but I'm doing great. I'm very tired, very beat up at the moment. But so it goes. So, so I was the other day I was thinking about Tom Brady, the famous football player who that
Oh,
may
yeah.
not be in the wheelhouse of our normal fan base, and but
Or
but
there
he
may be
was
some
still
strong opinions.
yeah, I'm sure he will elicit a lot of strong opinions, one way or the other. But that's not why I'm here. I'm not here to bag on Tom Brady. Because I just had to stop by the grocery store on the way home, and I had a lady from Boston was behind me. I was very excited. She was wearing a Celtics hat, and I'm a fan of the Celtics, so
Mhm.
it's good. But she went in about the Patriots anyway. So when this really bothered me because I don't like when this happens. So when Tom Brady was playing football, when he was like, like even like halfway through his career, people were like, "This guy is the greatest quarterback of all time." And I'm very much of the opinion that you can't say that while a thing is happening, and that you need a lot of time as perspective to say something is the best of all time. You can say it's your favorite of all time.
Yeah.
You can statistically say that, okay, well, this guy is probably the best player to play this position in this sport in this team. You can say that. So you can say that, like, I don't like. I mean, then you could argue that like LeBron James isn't as good as Michael Jordan because he's
Well,
not.
well
But but uh, but no, it really bothered me that people were doing that for Brady, like when his career wasn't even over yet. And because I feel like you need like some time. How much time do you think you need? Do you think you need time? Do you think you can say, can you go to a movie? Can you go to a movie, walk in that movie and go, that was the best movie of all time? That was the best. That was better than The Godfather.
see, I
This
actually
is the
have
best
never
movie
done
of all
that.
time.
I've never done that. It's not. I'm not saying I'm better than anyone else. I just don't think I've ever done that. I've gone, man. I love that. I compare it to other things. I'll never forget when Tristan told me after he watched, our friend Tristan, he watched, you know, James Cameron's epic well,
Avatar.
Avatar.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
it's
we
that
talked
was
about
his
this. Yeah,
magnum
we talked about this
opus.
before. That's
But
right. That's right.
the thing is, okay, go back to sports analogies here. We growing up, I was always told that Joe Montana was the greatest of all time.
Well, that's not true.
Well, it's not true. No, it's not true. Now,
It wasn't true then either. What's that?
well, I mean, he was pretty popular.
You can make a case.
Yeah, but there was the little period of time where he was like the best in the game. But Steve Young came along after that, and so on and so forth. Dan
Right.
Marino actually was is arguably one of the best quarterbacks to never win a Super Bowl.
Correct.
Thing with Tom Brady is okay. We're losing like half of our fans right now. Thing with Tom Brady is statistically he is a quarterback who has more Super Bowl wins than any other quarterback. Which could that be the way you can say he's the best of all time? No, the team's best of all time. Maybe to this point. To this point.
Yeah, maybe.
But it was like it's chemistry that works really really well. I came out of we talked about this a few weeks ago. I came out of Evil Dead Rise, and I didn't say, man, that's the best movie ever. I was like, that was a great movie in a franchise.
Which
I,
movie?
Evil Dead Rise.
Evil Dead Rise. Okay.
Yeah, that was a great movie in a franchise. It really captured the spirit. Now, I will say that I absolutely love Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn. One of my favorite movies. I've watched it so many times. It's not the
Okay.
best movie of all time. I personally love it a lot. But yeah, it's like almost like hyperbolic for people to say that sort of thing because there's no basis of fact. There's no proof. Star Wars is not the best movie of all time. It's a badly paced, kind of boring in the middle space epic.
Yeah, no, that's you're accurate. But I mean, like, do you think that people walked out of The Godfather when it came out and they went, well, that was the best movie of all time. That was it.
Of course not.
No one's
Of course
ever going
not.
to make a movie better than that.
Of course not. Like, no, let's say, well, wait till Godfather 3 comes out. I know that's that's not exactly what they're saying. Well, I'm sure a lot of people did say that. And you say like, what's the best movie that's come out? Well, obviously The Godfather Part 2. But you know, people will say that about all kinds of movies. People will say that about bad movies. I'm sure someone that believes that Ace Ventura: Pet Detective is the best movie they've ever seen of all time. It's a fun movie. I love watching the movie. Not my favorite movie.
Well, I used to work with someone that said that Tommy Boy was their favorite movie of all time, their favorite movie, period, of all time, which I'm like, I mean, favorite and best are, two different categories.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I normally think that you need a lot of time for this. I think you need like years for this. However, this I was on vacation last week, and I went over to New Orleans and I saw The Cure, and I'm going to go ahead and say that that was the best concert I've ever seen in my entire life.
See, that's actually a verifiable fact because you are making that opinion. You're speaking that opinion. That is the best show you've ever seen in your entire life. You can save all the other shows you've seen so far. That is the best one. I will easily say that when I went to see Fleet Foxes in Mobile, it was the best show I've ever seen. I've seen shows after that, but that was the best one I'd ever seen. I still have ever seen. It was
Show
great.
or concert, though. I have a dividing line between shows and concerts. Do you have that line?
Let me ask you real quick though. How are you going to define the difference between a show and a concert?
Well, a concert you can see in an arena. In a show, you see like in a club or a dedicated small music venue.
Yeah,
Like,
you have to be really.
I generally like. I prefer bands that play like the club level circuit. That's my space is bands
it feels more. I don't know. It feels more intimate.
It does. It
yeah,
does.
Well, I mean, I've seen bigger arena shows, concerts. Sorry,
Mhm.
you know, I've seen Queensryche play a couple times. One time as a smaller show, and one time as a big concert. Really good, whatever. Actually, I would argue they play better in a bigger arena than they do a smaller show. Seen Metallica play in a big show, a big arena,
Mhm.
the Black Album, whatever. I saw them at not the best show of all time. It was actually kind of crappy in the middle. But the I will say that I saw them at the Soul Kitchen, the Fleet Foxes at the Soul Kitchen in Mobile. Now I've seen them again recently in Atlanta. Me and my wife went to see the Coca-Cola Roxy, which is still a kind of a intimate space. It's two levels. It's a basically like gin pop in the middle, and then you have like seats around the outside. And I think the only reason why that wasn't as good of a show is because the album they are touring on I didn't like as much as the previous one. So that's the only reason. Otherwise, it was a fantastic show. I saw Flogging Molly, same arena. Great show, not the best show. There's a lot of good things that you can say. I think there's something about you have to be invested in it. I know you're invested, like many people are invested in The Cure, and that's probably a show you never thought you'd see. I'll say, one of my favorite shows I've seen was Tom Waits. Fantastic show.
Yeah. Okay.
Not my favorite though, and I think it's because he had a lot of energy, but he's not as young as he used to be. So a lot of the energy I think is lost.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, the Cure in their 60s, and it was like that was what I imagine seeing them in the 80s was like. Only
Yeah.
probably a little better because there was some songs that they couldn't have played in the 80s.
But look, I
How long?
shook Tom Waits' hand. It was still not the best show.
So right. So how long? But what was Fleet Foxes is the best show that you've ever seen,
Honestly, they
or the
were.
best concert?
Honestly, they were better than when I see shows, concert, or whatever. I think like, okay, how do they pair up against their album? And
Mhm.
they at this point they were better than their album, like far better.
Okay.
And I think it's because they brought in some local. They brought a local trio that had they played like some, I want to say flute and some trumpets for on a certain song. Watching the guitars, because it was pretty close. Watching the guitars down there, and he just play different instruments. The whole experience was like I felt more intimate,
Mhm.
but it was you know extremely talented band. I'm not going to go into it because that's a whole different thing, but you know there's a lot of shows I've seen that have been great, and
Mhm.
I mean honestly, being there with my wife, it was really hard to choose between both shows, but I think the only reason I didn't choose them as my favorites because the music they were playing. They were trying to promote their newer music, which I'm sorry, I don't know, we can talk about this another time, but whenever a band gets happy when they're typically having like a lot of like emotionally sad or really torn up songs that are really good, you're like, he's happy now. I don't like the music as much. It's one of those things, you want an artist who is suffering a little bit for their art. So I think it's the only reason it wasn't the best show. I mean, I've seen Blue Oyster Cult at Springfest. Fun show.
Yeah, I saw it. It was fine. I
Yeah, it
mean,
was a fun show. It wasn't the
it was
best
fine.
show.
It wasn't.
I've seen Boston and Kansas play.
Mhm.
Great show. Not the best show. So that's the thing, it's easy to say, oh, this is the best show ever. But you gotta say, okay, let's take a step back, walk away from your hyperbolic feelings. Okay, why do I think it's the best show? So honestly, The Cure, I saw you were there. I saw you strutting around. You were wiped out like the next day. I think you got like 3 hours sleep. I got like 4 hours sleep. It was we were both. Yeah, was that
3, dude? I would have been happy to get 3. I think I slept 90 minutes. I think I slept 90 minutes that night.
We were both in a bad way the next day for different reasons.
Rough. Yeah, I hung out with some friends of mine and my family in New Orleans. I was in New Orleans, so it was you do New Orleans stuff. But how long did it take you to go to say, okay, this show, that was the best show I've ever seen? Did you walk out and say that?
No. At the time, I'm so happy with that show. I was in like cloud nine, man. I was singing all the songs. I was just like, I felt so good about it. And then I did the same thing in this past time too. But I had to compare the two, kind of do a mental breakdown. Okay, I was with my wife, so it was a huge bonus.
Mm-hmm.
I was at a really cool arena, which is the Coca-Cola Roxy over there, right? It's right outside the Braves Stadium. I think the only problem I had was we both got a little too hammered, and that made things. I wish if we'd been a little more sober, probably would have been a much better show. But
there's a fine line. There's a fine line.
You cross that line.
But see, that line also varies with the band, though.
Yeah,
it absolutely varies with the music you're listening to, because there's certain bands it's like you got to go all in. Like,
oh yeah,
dude, when I saw the Hold Steady, we went all in, and we were just the right amount, just trash, and so were they. So it was very good,
dude. If I were seeing Guar, I would have been the right amount trashed. But
see, the first time I ever saw Guar, I was stone cold sober, and it was fantastic. It was fantastic. So
yeah, I've never actually been able to see them. So I hate that, because I've been a fan for years.
Okay. Oh, all right.
I'll tell you about this later. I had the chance to see him right before Brocky died. I'll tell you about it later, because I don't want to bring it into the podcast, but I missed out on that chance.
Fair enough.
So, yeah. So yeah, there's things that things I think you can take a step back and think about, kind of do like a mental, like, okay, this and this are better. This is worse. This is better. I'm sure when I walked out of Metallica, I thought it was the best show I've ever seen, but I was also probably like 16 or 17.
Yeah, and see, that's the thing is it was what I'm worried about here, and I don't think this is the case here, but like man, when I saw the movie Daredevil, I walked out of Daredevil and I was like, that was the best superhero movie I've ever seen in my life. That was so good. And what's funny is I went to a comic convention not long after that, and I was talking to my two absolute favorite comic creators of all time, Gilbert and Jaime Hernandez, who do Love and Rockets, and and I was the only person in line for these guys, and so I just sat there and hung out with them for like 45 minutes. It was great. They signed tons of stuff, gave me sketches. We talked about like rock music and wrestling and all this stuff, and even Gilbert Beto was like, man, somehow Daredevil came up, and he's like, I don't know how they made a better movie with a worse character than Spider-Man. They made a better movie than Spider-Man with a worse character. And so it wasn't just me. It wasn't just me that thought that movie was great. So
you're talking about Ben Affleck's Daredevil, right?
Yeah.
I don't. Maybe I didn't see the right headspace or something. I
was blown away when I walked out of it. I watched it since then, and I was like, this is really not good at all. So, I'll tell you what was really good though. Microbots.
Dude,
spoiler alert. Spoiler.
I love this episode so much.
Oh my god.
Okay. I
So
gotta say,
that was an awkward segue, but yeah, let's go to
Man,
Microbots.
we'll jump into it, right? So I gotta
Dude.
say, this is once again written by David Wise, who he is an old name in the podcast at this point. But did you know though that we've already talked about all the other shows he worked on, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. He worked on the Mighty Orbots. He worked on a lot of shows. But one of the things that our friend Boo over at AxalonUnderground.net found out. Oh, you lost the light there, man. You're kind of dark.
Yeah, my PC went to sleep.
Anyways, so yeah, he recycled a lot of the scripts. So he took the script for this and recycled it, and like he recycled it somewhere in He-Man. He recycled it in Guards Defenders of the Earth. The episode Leviathan by the in the Mighty Orbots is exactly what this is. It's they apparently they shrink down to a tiny size, and they've got the mission inside a giant alien space whale, and yeah.
I mean, shrinking down to tiny size and going inside of a thing to do a mission is not an original concept.
It's not
in the least bit. I mean, like Fantastic Voyage was the thing at this point already. And
like the thing is,
I bet he loves that movie.
He probably loves the concept. He did it again with actually David Wise and Patty Howarth on Shredder and Splintered on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They shrink down. Actually, the recycled Microbots script again with some dialogue almost verbatim in the episode Shredder and Splintered, where shrunken turtles have to fight their way through inside of a giant crane. So, I mean, he did a bunch of other episodes, which will come up on like Day of the Machines. He used that in He-Man. Crimzeek he also used in He-Man, which is going to be coming up during season 2. Anyways, yeah, nothing against that. I mean, he obviously loved the concept, and it's classic high science fiction. It is a tropey science fiction concept, which is great. We've seen it in so many other things,
Yeah, but like Fantastic Voyage.
Well, yes. Okay. Well, if you want to,
what about Inner Space? You ever see that one? You ever see?
Inner Space, same concept. Yeah. All those. I guarantee Inner Space came out around the same time this did. There was a very popular concept.
I think 86 or 87, 86.
Yeah.
I think
okay. So after this,
that was fun. Yeah, it was fun. That was a fun movie.
Oh yeah, it was. Rick Moranis and Dennis Quaid.
It was Martin Short.
Oh God, yeah, Martin Short. I'm sorry. Rick Moranis. So sorry. Other small.
Other SCTV guy.
Yes, thank you. Actually, great with it. That movie made me a Dennis Quaid fan. So.
I love SCTV also.
Oh yeah, SCTV. I haven't watched that in years. I should check that out.
it's really cool.
Oh yeah, Second City TV, man. So yeah. Anyways, Microbots. I had such a fun time watching this episode. I laughed so much, and I've got some extra stuff from this episode I will bring up when we're talking about it.
Spoiler, it's so good. Like, I'm just gonna go give it a rating now, and we'll just sign off.
This might be one of my favorite episodes we've done of all time.
This is the best episode of Transformers ever. So we open with the most white dude on earth, like trying to bust out Spanish. It's like when you like you don't really see this much anymore, but like back in the 80s and the 90s, you would when there was a lot of civil unrest in Central America. You would have like Ted Koppel or somebody on like the news on like ABC News, and he would go on. He would be telling like, today there was more fighting by guerrillas in Nicaragua, and he would just.
You're 100% right.
He would go right into that and just like lapse right back into like. I'm like, dude, like you don't have to. You're trying a little bit too hard here, but that was what this guy sounded like. This guy sounded like Ted Koppel from the late 80s, and
that's so good.
Yeah.
Did you see the woman he had with him who looked like she belonged to Bubblegum Crisis with that purple hair?
She was from Robotech, dude. She was like one of the bridge crew from Robotech.
I was waiting for her to come out with her like exosuit to like to fight the what was it the thing? What are the things in Bubblegum Crisis? The boomers.
The boomers.
Yeah.
So, but the thing is like you see her and she's like again it was like that last episode with Dr. What's her name?
Dr. Harding.
Dr. Harding. Harding.
Man, great
Dr. Harding, the action doctor. She was like a real cool hip lady, and like you see this lady and you're like, oh, she's gonna be a real cool lady too. She's got like blue hair and she's an archaeologist, and this was the golden she was very Zentradi. This was the golden age of archaeologists. This is when archaeologists were action stars because of Indiana Jones.
Yep.
right? So, but she has this annoying like old lady voice. It doesn't
She
fit.
does.
She wasn't cool at all. She was like an old school marm. I didn't like her one bit.
But they uncover purple metal, and so we know
her
what
name
purple metal means.
well, her name was Joan also, which is
Oh, that's
not
an
a
old lady
cool
name.
young lady name either. And
No,
like
no.
so, but he's like this dude is like this white guy's like, Joan, I've found something, and it's like a clay jug that was perfectly just laying there in this hole he dug up. I'm like, how could you have not seen this before? You dug a giant hole. And so he picks it up and he's like dusting it off, like with a little brush that archaeologists on TV like to use a whole lot. And but then Joan just starts, she's like, oh, that's cool. And she starts with this shovel and she's just like smashing into the ground. And then she finds purple metal.
You don't do that.
No.
Any archaeologist knows you chip away at the dirt. If you found something, you're gonna like disrupt. You're gonna break a jar.
Yeah.
Yeah,
she could have broken that clay jug. She could have broken that clay jug. That Incan clay jug.
Yeah, she could have broken a Decepticon warship.
She could have. And, but we do know that isn't a Mayan spaceship because the Mayans didn't have spaceships.
Or so we're led to believe. Now, if you watch Discovery Plus, there's some shows on there. Might you think different? No. I do like.
I love that. Those of you the audio only feed. I cannot remember that guy's name. It's something Greek. The guy with the crazy hair and the aliens, the meme guy.
Yeah, that dude. He is
Christos
so good.
Something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I love that guy. I think it's all I think that's all a bunch of garbage. I think it's also racist, and I'll tell you why. Because you don't ever see like these things being like, oh, where did the Sistine Chapel come from? Who built that? It must have been aliens because people couldn't have built that. You never hear that. It's because white people built it. But when it's like brown people, that's when it's always like they couldn't have built that. It had to have been aliens. It's the most racist like theory on the face of the earth, and I hate it.
Man, I didn't think we were going to bring up a good case of racism in this, but here we are.
I can find it anywhere. Let me tell you about a new brewery that we opened up in town,
dude.
We'll get, but no. I'll digress on that. So,
oh my god, that's been an amazing thing. So we got to not go into that because that's terrible.
It's a slippery slope, and that'll be the whole show. So, Soundwave is watching TV. He's just watching some lines and some circles on TV. That's all he's watching. And then the channel changes, and it cuts to like a news feed of that spaceship.
Okay, I gotta stop real quick to let everyone know I'm dying here because he's been sending me screenshots for this racist bar all week, and I've been dying. This has been the best thing ever. Anyways, back to the show. I just had to say that because I'm here like losing it about this.
We'll touch on that at the end of it. How about this? We'll touch on that at the end of the episode.
Sure, let's do that.
Okay. So he's just watching the lines and circles, and it's great. It looks like a great show. I need the DVD box set of lines and circles that Soundwave's watching.
CRT's messing up.
So they have like a clip of that ship that looks just like the Ark but purple. Basically, it's just like the back end, the thrusters or whatever. And dude, Megatron sees it, and Megatron got all excited, and he's like, you know what's inside. No, Megatron, I do not know what's inside. I need you to tell me. Don't vague book this.
I just said the same thing in my notes. I'm like, I don't know, Megatron, what is inside of it? Because that's how he leaves it.
I know. They just cut it off. You know what's inside. Like, no,
I don't.
Clearly, I don't. I need you to convey through exposition. I need you to tell and or show this, please.
Yeah. But we cut to the Ark, where we jump right into typical afternoon cartoon fodder. There's a shrinking and enlarging ray.
But we'll get some bullying before that, though.
Yeah. Because
is this the first appearance of Perceptor?
No, he was in another episode, but he wasn't. It's like he wasn't a main character in the episode.
Oh, he was a main character here, and nobody likes this nerd.
No.
They pick on him the entire time. So he's trying to. Ironhide's apparently got a bad chip, and he can't remember anything, even though he still talks just like he did before, and he knows that he doesn't remember anything. So there's something going on. There's something going on here.
Yeah, he's old.
So Perceptor's trying to fix this microchip, which is I guess is his job. I don't really know. It seems like Ratchet or Wheeljack probably could have done this too. And those guys are like action scientists, and
Yeah,
not
I
like,
don't know. I kind of feel like they're like field medics, where he's like the guy who like does all the slow, because he's slow. There's no other way around it. He is slow. He takes the chip out, like walks slowly over to the enlarging machine, enlarges it, and then like sits there and talks while he fixes it, shrinks it again, and walks back over. He takes so long. He's not a field medic at all.
But yeah, the Ironhide is not having this though. He's real mad.
Nope.
He hasn't like this since he's just working on microchips and not doing real work like smashing Decepticons. So this dude is probably running for Congress next year, since apparently science isn't productive. So
These are Congress in Alabama.
Congress now, yeah, or Texas.
Mm.
Sorry, Texans.
I'm in Alabama, so I can say that.
Microchips were. I'm in Florida, dude. Microchips were real new to the lexicon at this point. That was kind of a new thing. A microchip,
big, yeah.
And this was like a thing where he was tinkering around with it, and like so that was, I think, a real world factor crept into the writing there.
Hold on a second. We've already hit typical afternoon cartoon fodder and real world factors.
And real world factors.
Dude, we're done. Time to close it up. We're done. That's it.
All right.
So yeah, man, Braun is all over Perceptor. He is just giving him the business.
God, he's mean.
Yeah, I've never heard Braun be mean. He's always kind of gruff. He's always kind of a, he's like no nonsense. I throw people around and I beat things up, but he's never mean.
I can't think of. I don't know that I remember him from any of the episodes. He was so like, just kind of, there. He was just kind of like not Ironhide, basically.
Yeah, I guess.
He's just like,
I remember him, but it's me.
Like the grumpy dude, but he's like little or whatever. But somebody was shaking in their proton boots, though. I don't remember who that was.
There's no telling at this point.
I don't know what a proton boot does, but yeah, so like Optimus Prime somehow figured out that Decepticons found something, and they had to go head them off. I don't know how he figured that out.
He saw the ship and he's like, I know that ship. We gotta go.
Was it? It was in the
newscast. Oh, by the way, okay. I'll tell you what proton boots do. Proton boots, they attract electron boots. Make a covalent bond. Okay. Anyways,
and they cause explosions. So,
anyways, yeah, they decide they're gonna go get there before Megatron does, because obviously Megatron, according to the Autobots, he doesn't watch the news, but he does, or at least Soundwave does. He watches like circles and triangles and lines and squares.
Dude, that's his favorite show, man. Like, yeah, I'm totally down. But who's back in this episode though? The Constructicons.
And they are the labor force, man. They are doing everything out there. They're moving trees, they are clear cutting the Amazon right now.
They're bulldozing, dude. See, real world factors have crept in, because this is before everyone cared about that. They didn't even focus on this. They could have focused on this and made a whole episode about slash and burn.
Once again, Megatron is not for green energy again. So what is it? He can't decide what he wants.
He's back and forth.
He's over there fist bump with Bolsonaro down there in Brazil.
Dude, yeah, I don't know. He's Reagan one week, he's Bernie the next week, dude. What's going on? Dude, I was so excited to see the Constructicons back, man. I'm like, oh my god, this is gonna be great. But there's a really cool bit of dialogue here where one guy goes, nice scenery, and then somebody else goes, let's waste it, I hate nice things. Like yeah, these guys are punk rock and everything. I like them.
Yeah, there's this whole scene where right around this, when Starscream's like kind of mouthing off to Rumble, and a freaking snake comes out of a tree and starts strangling him. How big is this arboreal snake? It's not a ground snake, it's an arboreal, it's in a tree.
Dude, that was like a redwood sized snake. It was massive, but it was almost like the scene from Temple of Doom where Willie Scott grabs the snake and like she tosses it. But this snake is like constricting. It must have been massive. He was constricting a jet.
He's an F-15. So funny. He's an F-15 robot. He's constricting him.
He's massive. So, dude, the rest of the Decepticons are clowning so hard on Starscream. Dude, they are merciless with him. They're bullying him. Dude, everyone's bullying him. This episode just a bully fest. The entire thing.
Speaking of that, did you see like Ravage has a little tete-a-tete with his own little doppelganger?
A real panther comes out. A real jaguar panther comes out and fights against Ravage, and so Ravage just like shoots a rocket at him. Like, I guess all right. I guess that's
done with this, man.
That's a great way to win that battle, dude.
But Starscream says they should fly. But Megatron's like, no, we should stay on the ground to avoid satellite detection. Dude, you're clearing the Amazon,
dude. I don't think that's how satellites work. Judging, I mean, I'm a person that uses satellite imaging of the ground a lot, and you ever open Google Earth?
Dude, I worked in GIS.
I'm pretty sure that I could see Megatron from.
I worked with ArcGIS. They take aerial photography all the time. You can look at spots in the Earth all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's crazy. Anyways, well, that's now, I guess. It's 40 years later.
Wasn't real good back then.
Yeah.
So we're gonna get the Star Drive. That's what we're looking for.
Yeah.
That's the MacGuffin. But they don't. This is the only time they call it the Star Drive, right? They don't call it the Star Drive again.
No, they don't. Well, I think. Okay, well, this is going to be like, well, actually, there's the whole thing. I think the whole engine is a Star Drive. I'm guessing.
Oh, the power source is the heart of Cybertron.
The power source is the heart of Cybertron. But did you notice that the heart of Cybertron is a green crystal? We're back to green crystals.
That's the most primal energy in all the universe is green crystals.
Green crystals.
I'm totally down. It's a metaphor for green energy. Everybody knows that.
Is that it?
So okay, all right. So I got real confused here, man. So so the Decepticons roll up on these archaeologists, and they demand. Okay, and they demand they introduce themselves, but then they just start blasting them away because Megatron's established in the past that he can't remember anyone's names.
No.
So I'm not sure why he cares who these archaeologists are. But then I thought about the line for a little bit. This is a real awkwardly worded line. So because they come up and they go, the humans go, "Who are you?" And Megatron goes, "Decepticons. Introduce yourself." But so okay, what is it? Decepticons, period. And then a request sentence saying, "Introduce yourselves, scientists. You introduce yourselves." Or was it Decepticons? Decepticons with the implied subject of "we are Decepticons," and then a command to his Decepticons to introduce themselves, who did so via blasting. What was the sentence structure here?
If I were to guess, the way he said it, Frank Welker said the line, I would think that was all. There's no period, there's no comma. There is all one sentence. It's like, "Hey guys, introduce yourselves to the scientists," and they start shooting at them. But honestly,
there had to be something. There had to either be a comma or a period there, because he says, "Decepticons, introduce yourselves."
That may be like a slight pause, but not really.
Was he just no selling the scientists, asking them who they were, and or was he just being like, "Hey, Decepticons, you guys introduce yourselves to these guys"?
He was actually being a great party host. He goes like, "Who are you guys? Hold on, guys, y'all introduce yourselves. I want to make sure everyone knows each other. You get names, you meet." Because if you, I've been a host where I say, "Oh, this is so, and then people don't talk. But if you make them actually break the ice with laser fire, they actually get to know each other much better. I think I
usually try to just find common ground between them. I don't like to shoot people with lasers at parties, but that's just me. I still think that
a lot of Sailor Jerry does it to me. Anyways,
Megatron once again vague booking here, and I don't like this. I need big things coming. Say prayers. But then they pull out the heart. But then the scientists run away, and we don't ever see this blue-haired lady ever again. And we don't see
the Zentradi woman's gone.
Yeah, Joan.
Yeah. Joan. She had to go hang out with the other Micronians.
The only cool Joan ever was from Romancing the Stone. You ever see that? You ever see Romancing?
Yeah, I love that movie.
Joan Wilder.
Yeah, so I saw that a lot.
From Kathleen Turner's. Yeah, so I had I watched
loved her voice. Yeah, she is one of the best voices. Anyway, so they get the heart of Cybertron. He takes Hook's laser scalpel or whatever it is and prays it out.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
But so there's the heart of Cybertron. So they can use it to leave the Earth, right? No, he's going to put it in his chest. But before this, there's a scene where Hook's holding the heart of Cybertron, and his head is completely gray. It's like they forgot to color his head. He's got red eyes and a gray head.
Is that the Constructicon that talks like this? Or is that a different Constructicon?
Yeah, I don't know. I'll listen to it again. I feel like they all have a kind of Scrapper's kind of leader. Hook has a very cut, almost like wannabe British accent. So it's probably Hook. It is definitely Hook you heard.
Okay.
He talks. He's very arrogant and yeah.
Oh, no, this is a different guy because I remember that guy too. That guy had a really funny voice, but this guy just talks like this. Like it's like almost like he's like doing like the old school robot voice, but they didn't modulate his voice to have the robot voice.
That's also very likely. Go back and watch it. But yeah. So he was like completely uncovered, colored except for his eyes and whatever. But yeah. So
he just lays down. He just lays down, and Megatron just lays down. He's like, I'll put it in my chest.
Put it
right
in
now."
me.
Lays down, just lays down on the spot. Like, don't go back to the headquarters. Don't go into the ship and do it, where maybe there's like a facility to do this, like in the dirt, right here.
Put it in right here.
Who needs a clean room? No one knew.
No, we don't do that here. So, like the Autobots show up and Megatron has laser gun fingers.
Dude,
he GoBots the whole place. He shoots the rays out of his fingers, man.
Dude, this was so cool. He just, dude, and he's like he's totally upgunned. This is now the most powerful weapon in all of the Transformers.
Okay, so I got to say this also. This was such a nicely animated scene too. There's like heavy shadows. There's light effects. It was really nicely done. You could really see where it's like how do you pronounce them? Toei. Yeah,
Toei. I think it's Toei.
Toei. They were really holding this episode up because you can see where this is a Toei episode compared to an ACOM episode. They were pulling in all the anime artists in this. It looked really good.
There's another bit later on that I'll get into about the animation that was really cool. But what I want to know right now though is that where were Optimus Prime's warning diodes? Because we talked about those in the last episode.
Yeah, apparently they were not firing this time.
They didn't work.
But no, I don't know. Maybe it's green energy, man. It doesn't work with green energy.
Yeah, dude, he got blasted, dude. He was like, there was like smoke coming out of the windshields and everything, dude. He was totally trashed. That was awesome, dude. That was really cool. This is a great thing. Speaking of animation, though, we got a really cool shot of an iguana crawling over a branch.
Yeah,
that was very cool. And it like panned over. It didn't mean anything to the show. It just panned past this iguana crawling over a branch and then over to Optimus Prime. But now that I said iguana, I'm gonna get like 700 emails telling me that it was like a skink or a monitor or something like that.
That was not a skink.
I don't know what it was.
No,
I'll tell you what. Dude, I'll tell you what. Like
a reptile.
Really, a reptile. It was
large reptile.
A bearded dragon. I don't know. I'm gonna spend the rest of the week with my notifications for Discord turned off so that you guys can't.
Man.
So you gotta correct me on my herpetology.
So yeah, Prime goes down. Megatron summarily takes out all the Autobots, and Huffer comes along. Is like, I hope I'll get lucky. No, you're not gonna get lucky.
What was that like? I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know what you.
They all try to rush him too. Like Blue Streak goes down. He jumps out there, and apparently there wasn't included in the episode. He's running out there to try to take on Megatron, and Megatron knocks him out. But in the script, he shoots him squarely and like blows him away, and like he's missing an arm and a leg in the original script.
Oh, no kidding. Yeah, because there was a scene later on where they all went back to the Ark and they were all kind of beat up, but they just all kind of looked dirty, like they drew a couple extra lines on them.
They look like Heathcliff having a fight. Heathcliff, would always like to have the cross hatches on his cheeks and stuff if he fought other cats.
I love Heathcliff. He probably went and ate a dinner of fish skeletons off of a garbage can lid.
Exactly.
After he got beat up too. It's my favorite cat meal. But we got another 280ZX here. This guy's real cool. He's red. What's that?
He is a smokescreen.
Smokescreen. Yeah,
guess what he does?
He probably has some sort of a smoke screen device. But I tell you what, he does have though. He has some racing numbers on his doors that are upside down for some reason. I like this guy. I mean, I'm a fan of 280Zs. That's one of my favorite cars, and but I didn't know who he was until now. But he's cool and he's on the list. I like that color scheme a lot.
It's kind of weird that they didn't really. I can't remember them naming him in the episode. I only know because I know probably more than I've probably forgotten more than I know at this point about Transformers. But yeah, he's one of the season 2 280Zs. He had like all the kind of like lower racing effects and stuff on his doors in his. So yeah, he's like almost like a rally car version of a 280.
So yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. What does he do though? He goes and he helps Optimus up, and Optimus is apparently just fine. He gets up. He's like, "Oh, that was kind of rough."
Yeah, he got blasted by his son, and Yeah. But Optimus Prime gets up and he's just panicking and he's like, well, hey guys, just shoot the entire mountain. I was impressed for once he did not give the command to just transform in the midst of adversity. But instead he tells them to just shoot the entire mountain and blow the entire mountain up. Which I guess is just as effective actually probably the most effective command he's given in the entire season of the series so far.
Yeah.
And all the Decepticons get buried in rubble, including Soundwave. And there's a really bad shot of Soundwave like going to the falling to the ground and getting buried in all this rocks. I didn't like that. I don't like anything bad happening to my guy.
Well, he tried, man. He was one of the ones who tried to make it the furthest, but you're letting, it's a mountain falling on you, man. You can only do so much.
I don't like my guy getting jobbed out. That's
well, you got to face it, man. Like my dude gets jobbed all the time. So they go. Autobots go back to the base because Smokescreen bought up some time with a smokescreen around Megatron while it's all happening, and so they go back and then base, and they're all looking beat up. And Perceptors starts working on them, and what happens to Ron?
Ron's giving him a hard time again. Yeah. He's working on Power Glide though.
Yeah.
But so I need to take a detour here because friend of the show Jehu, who was on doing the Michael Bay episodes. So he's been going through the old episodes, and he messaged me a couple days ago, dying laughing about when I told the story about my aunt's boyfriend named Powerglide, that my grandpa called Powerglide, right? So and he was like, dude, I really need to hear the rest of that story, and I was like, man, I'm saving it for like in case we ever do. I don't know that we're ever going to do a Rush episode. So because Power Glide showed up here, I'm going to drop in the definitive Power Glide story right now. So buckle in for a second. Let me tell you the Power Glide story. So if you haven't heard that episode, my aunt had this total slacker of a boyfriend back in the late 70s and the early 80s. My grandfather called him Power Glide. If you want to know why that's funny, you go back and listen to that old episode or do some research on 1970s Chevrolet transmissions. Anyway, so this dude was total burnout. When I was 5, was my best friend because we were equally as smart. So this is like 1980, I think, 1979, 1980. My aunt decided she wants to go to Disney World as her summer trip. She's like, I've never been to Disney World. I really want to go to Disney World. Hey, Powerglide, using his real name, but hey, Powerglide, let's go to Disney World. Let's save up some money. Let's go to Disney World together. And he's like, that sounds great. Let's do this. And this dude never had a job ever. So my aunt like cleaned the condos back then. She just hustled and did all this and saved money. And every few weeks she would be like, hey, Powerglide, how's the money situation coming? Oh yeah, I'm doing good. And she's like, okay, cool, glad, because you got to pay for your half. And he's like, yeah, oh totally, I'm gonna have all this money, and we're gonna get all this stuff. So time goes on and on and on. So the day of her leaving, they're supposed to leave, the morning of, she's like, you ready to go? And he's like, yep, got my bag packed. And she's like, all right, well, cool. Got your money? He's like, she's like, show me the money that you have saved up. And so Powerglide pulls his wallet out, and he has about $3 in his wallet, and he's had months to save up money. So this dude has zero. He hasn't saved any money at all. He hasn't worked. He hasn't done anything. All he has, he's totally broke. So my aunt's like, well, sorry, dude, I'm not paying for anything, because he just assumed that she was going to bite the bullet and pay for the trip. So she kicked him out of the car and hopped in her gremlin and took off and left him there on the side of the road.
Yeah, gremlin, no less. That's awesome.
Yeah, she had a gremlin. Left him on the side of the road, took off. So he's there, and he's just all bummed out. Oh man. So
I want to see Mickey.
Yeah, he wanted to see. So he's like, well, he's gonna walk. He's got to walk home now because she didn't even give him a ride home. She was so mad. So he's walking, and he sees a friend of his, and he's all like, oh hey man, what's up? He's like, oh man, my girl just left me to go to Orlando, so I'm walking home. He's like, well, let's go. The guy's like, well, let's go hang out. So they're walking back to their apartment, to Powerglide and my aunt's apartment, and on the side of the road they see a shoebox. And they're like, oh, what's that? And somebody had tossed a shoebox full of cassettes out of a car, apparently, and they landed on the side of the road. They pick it up, and it's all like, this is like 1979. So it's like, or 1980, something like that, right? So they're like, oh, look, there's a bunch of good stuff in here. And one of those tapes was Hemispheres by Rush.
Oh, I love that album.
I love that album too. That was a great
so
album. That is also a very man, I don't want to get graphic, but that's if you're in an altered state of mind, that is that's very much music for that experience.
Yeah,
right? So they're walking home and it had just rained, and they see on the side of the road, they see a giant patch of mushrooms of the vacation type, if you know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
So they're like, "Oh, dude," and scooped them all up, put them in the shoebox with all these tapes, and they went back to my aunt's apartment and brewed up like a giant vat of tea with these mushrooms, and they put Hemispheres on.
Dude.
They stayed up for 7 days. They didn't sleep for a week. They blasted Hemispheres on repeat for 7 straight days, and drank this. And so, meanwhile, there's like they're upstairs, and there's like old people downstairs, like beating on the ceiling, and they moved out eventually. And like my aunt came back, and there were cops there and moving vans and all this stuff. And so, yeah, that's
God.
that sums up Power Glide for you. That's the definitive Power Glide story. I have told it. It's out there. So
I would love to listen to Cygnus X1 that way. Not promoting that lifestyle. Everyone,
we don't condone.
That'd be really cool.
The only vacations that I condone are ones to Disney World, where you.
I love that whole side of that tape. Cygnus X1. God, I love that. So good.
So do I. So
and
anyway, so sorry about that, guys, but I felt like that had to be out there because, like, I know I left that on a cliffhanger. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. So
that album though has subdivisions on it.
No, it doesn't. That's on Signals.
Oh, it's on Signals? No, it's not.
It is. It is.
I have that.
It's on Signals, dude.
Oh my God, really?
Maybe we do need to do a Rush subdivision so that
there's so much Rush music, man. I'm sorry, dude. I'm trying to like. No, it's not on Signals.
I swear to God, it is on Signals.
Okay, I'll have to look at that later. Oh, dude.
All right.
Really?
Yeah, I'm serious, dude. I'm serious.
I listen.
But you know what else I'm serious?
But
I'll tell you what else I'm serious about though is that Perceptor has a shrink ray.
As we've seen,
he's a microscope, so he looks at small things and he can make things small.
Yeah,
it ties in.
But the thing is, can he work on things really small though? When he's like looking through a microscope, he's got to make them bigger. It's like, well, that's the problem. Let me make it bigger so I can work on it with my big hands.
Well, no, I think the idea is that he makes himself smaller to work on the small things.
Well,
so it's basically his whole gimmick is the plot of Fantastic Voyage.
Dude, you're not gonna let that go, are you?
I mean, it's a cool movie, dude.
I know, it's fine.
Nah, it's a cool movie, but there's some illusions to it down the road.
You're trying to convince yourself now. Okay, all right.
But I'll tell you what though. So his plan is he's going to shrink everybody down, right?
Mm-hmm.
With his crack team of commandos, apparently, which he picked the worst dudes to go with him. But
why would you pick Bumblebee to go into Megatron?
Why would you pick Brawn? Brawn's been picking on you the whole time.
Strong, man.
Why don't they pick Optimus Prime, Jazz, Ironhide?
They're thinking like, okay, if we lose Brawn, Bumblebee, and Perceptor, we can still go on.
Like nobody cares.
No, we'll be okay.
They should have had one ace though. I guess Bumblebee's kind of the ace here, but so I don't know if you caught this or not during this scene though. Is there's some really cool music going on? Like we've got some 1960s space age bachelor pad tunes going on. Like Perceptor's got like some like Martin Denny or Les Baxter jamming in the background. Like he's gonna go to Vegas and be a cool guy. He's not a cool guy though. Is the thing. He's just a nerd.
Yeah, he's not. He wants to be though, really badly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's the whole plan. But dude, the best thing is happening like over in South America. The Decepticons have dug themselves out and they're having a toast and they're getting hammered. They're so hammered.
So in my notes, I have literally it's the scene starts, I pause it and I start making notes and I'm like, well, it looks like the Decepticons are just sitting around literally like toasting with energon cubes, and I hit play, and the second I hit play, let's have a toast. Like Megatron literally they've got energon in, they're drinking energon out of cubes. Dude,
it must have been like really nicely fermented energon. There's this whole thing with Megatron where he goes, I'm gonna try to slur it when I say it. Those are the good old days on Cybertron.
Dude,
We didn't have to sneak around. And these Earth disguises.
he turned into Quint from Jaws.
He did. He's a good old Cybertron.
Dude,
Land of the metal moon. He passes out.
you know who his voice? This is a really niche thing here, and I don't expect anyone to know this, but Jonathan Frakes from Star Trek Next Generation, number one,
Yeah.
Riker. He had a show about like the paranormal for a little while. Do you remember that show? So here's the thing though, like there are clips of him just saying things of him like, "Have you ever spent the night in a graveyard?" But the thing is,
things to watch on YouTube, by the way.
What's that?
That was one of the funniest things. All these clips put together. That was one of the funniest things on YouTube.
It is funny, but here's the real comedy on that: is watch it at half speed or 75% speed, and it sounds exactly like Megatron right here. If you ever spent the night in a graveyard, is exactly what it sounds like. So guys, do this. I'm telling you, do it. It's
oh
hilarious.
God. They're so slurring. And okay, so Powerglide's taking the three of these shrunken Autobots, and he fires them out of one of his air intakes. It lands on Megatron. They all get out and run off, and they jump into Megatron's chest cavity or whatever. And he gets like, what? What's this? Typical, like, where am I? What happened last night? Knocks this canister off his chest. And he's like, hey, go after that guy. I can't remember what he says exactly. But there's this pan shot with Laser and Starscream falling over drunk. A Laserbeak does this like swirl and it hits the ground, he skids. So the whole thing with like I really didn't catch the fact that Rumble and Starscream were facing off against each other like they're about to fight. This was actually dialogue cut from the script.
Oh no.
They're facing each other angrily. Their voices slurred. Take back what you said, says Rumble. Nah, it's true, says Starscream. There's nothing wrong with my brain functions. Starscream says, yeah, except they don't work, Rumble. Why are you? And they fall over. Dude, they're basically like, you're an idiot. No, you're an idiot. No, I'm going to fight you. They fall out. They pass out.
Dude, these guys got turned.
Oh, yeah. And then Ravage, like a scene after that, he starts howling at the moon. Apparently, Ravage is hammered.
Why would you cut that out? That's great.
That whole scene, I would have loved to see that. Maybe it was like too overt that they were hammered.
Dude, oh my God. Like, this is
one of the best episodes I've seen, man. I can say that, like, not being hyperbolic. We were talking about at the beginning of this episode. This is one of the best episodes. Seriously, it's so fun,
dude. It was so fun. Megatron was just like talking about the good old days. And this is like when you try to reconnect with your friend from high school, and like all you do is sit around talking about like stuff from high school. And like, hey man,
Sam Goody.
You remember that time that we hit those garbage cans in your car? Yeah, man. You remember that time we almost got in a fight with those dudes at the mall? Well, listeners, if that's the point you're at with a relationship, that's not your friend anymore. That's just a dude you talk about old things with. And unfortunately, Megatron is not a leader anymore. He's just a dude that talks about the way things used to be on Cybertron.
Good old days.
Sorry to break that.
God, I love that. There's so much good old Cybertron, land of the metal moon. He passes out.
They didn't need disguises. You transformed on Cybertron, dude.
But in all these old Earth disguises,
Soundwave was transformed in episode 1, the first scene in episode 1. Soundwave was transformed into a streetlight.
They're not sneaking around either. He's playing on sneaking around. No one's sneaking around. They fly. I don't know how they. Why did they stay off the radar this episode? I don't understand that.
Okay, so there's an unidentified red car driving around here. Who is this guy? This is not Cliffjumper. This is it was like a sedan. It was like
I think it was Windcharger.
Was it?
Yeah,
he looked like a Toyota Cressida.
Yeah, it depends on who animated him. Sometimes he looks like a Camaro, sometimes he looks like a Cressida. I don't know.
It was Bush. He had a grill. That was Bush League, dude.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what wasn't Bush League was that Megatron has an immune system.
Dude, he does so much.
His little steering wheels that float around on wires.
It looks like the best platform game on a Nintendo ever.
This was very much a video. This was very much a video game. So who was it?
Brawn is jumping up there.
Brawn, yeah, they're smashing Megatron's immune system or whatever, and so they have this golden opportunity here to just smash Megatron's brain, and like this would effectively end the war. more or less, right? And
Yeah.
Perceptor says no, since he knew that Megatron was flying because he could tell they were horizontal, right?
Yeah.
Um, However, by the time they're in the brain, Megatron had already landed by himself in front of the arc, so
Yeah.
he was upright again. So
I don't know, man. Maybe he's all weirded out from the horizontal, vertical flying. Yeah, honestly, there was also in the script as well. There's a little bit about him, about the fact that if you were, I guess it was in the original script, like Braun's like, just tear the wires out, and the Perceptor's like, no, if he falls, like this hardest Cybertron could take out half the planet.
that is in the episode. They
Oh,
say
it's
that
in the
one.
episode. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I'm gonna that's a little bit later on, but
okay, okay.
yeah. Um, but
But
yeah,
yeah,
he's
it was
just there
one.
by himself. He's at the arc. Megatron's at the arc by himself. He's like
Yeah,
just showed up,
oh,
and
he doesn't need anyone
essentially,
else.
what's that?
He doesn't need, dude. He's the drunk uncle.
He's
He
still
shows up.
turnt.
He's like, I'll beat you all up.
No, he's like that dude that like when you're sleeping and like
Yeah.
2 o'clock in the morning rolls around and there's some the dude that you're friends with was like knocking on the door and he's trashed on some cheap beer on some Milwaukee's Best, right? And like this dude's jacked up and mad because he loaned you Molly Crew Girls 6 months ago and you haven't given it back yet. And
This happened, didn't it?
the joke's on you, pal. That record's terrible, and I didn't even listen to the whole thing. And you can just have it. You can just have it. I would have just left it in the mailbox for you. You don't have to show up.
Yeah, well, actually, this kind of thing happened to me. Except it's like, why don't you come out with us? Why are you sleeping? Like, dude, it's 3 a.m.
Oh
I
no,
could be
no,
up for work at 7. Yeah,
yeah, no. I don't like that. I don't like that.
yeah.
Let's see what I do like though.
Sad,
Megatron has electric snakes in his brain.
dude. His brain impulses are electric snakes.
These are so cool. They're flying electric snakes.
This is like a metal album cover from the 80s, right here.
This is
It really,
this
really
is one of the coolest. This is one of the coolest things in all of the Transformers so far.
Yeah, but they're getting attacked by brain impulses that are electric snakes, and what makes electric snakes even cooler is when they like, hey, if we hitch a ride on one, so there's like a rodeo. They're like, they grab onto one like a bucking bronco. They all three ride an electric snake to the heart of Cybertron.
Dude, oh my god, this was so cool. This was that was seriously like I think that was neck and neck with the Autobots surfing. Cool. Like this was so oh my god, this was so rad, dude. So they cut to, like to the outside though, because this is all going on like inside of Megatron's brain. We go to the outside and there's a tank. We have a tank transformer now.
Oh yeah, Warpath.
Okay, I don't think I've seen this guy before. But he's shooting at Megatron. Megatron doesn't care. Megatron is just like standing there like in Apocalypse Now, just letting it blow up beside him.
Yeah.
But there was a really super cool bit of animation here where if you slow down like the shell getting shot out of the tank or whatever, it gets real like glimmery and glinty, and there's a lot of detail on that shell. It's got like all these sets of fins or whatever. It was like, very anime and very cool. I like this.
That's like the best he will actually look in the entire show, I think. Warpath. Seriously, I think it's probably the best he'll look, because he looked really good and the shells looked amazing, like you said already.
I don't think he transformed them, did he?
I don't think so. Not this one. He didn't. No, he didn't.
So. I don't even know this dude. Is so like the obvious question is the but he transforms as the turret, the head?
No, I almost thought he transformed in Dynamite Island Part 2 or something like that. But you'll hear him because his whole dialogue is usually like bang zoom. That's the time when he's transformed. But yeah, his head comes out like out of the turret. So the turret's like kind of his chest. So he like shoots his chest. Yeah, but yeah, he's like, I'm gonna bang zoom Decepticons. That's essentially what he does. Like
that's terrible. That's terrible. They should have given him Gomer Pyle's voice. That would have been way cooler. He got blown up though. Like Megatron blew him up, dude. He shot the
laser fingers.
He shot the laser fingers on him, dude. But now is when Perceptor says that they can't short out the brain because it'll destroy half the world. Like when? Since when? Like
maybe like I don't know. Maybe some like really fuzzy like science fiction stuff here where if you take away the brain functionality from the power source, it's going to blow. I don't know. Yeah, it's plot device.
I don't know. I don't know. Whatever. Somebody got called a filth. So they undo the thing. They take it. The heart of Cybertron. They take it, and Megatron got real mad and called them filthy retro rats.
Mhm.
This was a new
The
new
best
insult.
part of this is when they're running out of his arm joint, and as they're running, they get bigger and bigger and bigger. They're,
Gradually returning
yeah,
to
so they're
normal
like
size.
running down the hallway, like through, I guess, a hallway through his body. Like, are we getting bigger or is this place getting smaller? Kind of that whole tropey
Mhm.
thing. They run out, and suddenly their size gets exponentially bigger really fast. So they're basically running on like they're stepping on Megatron as they run away,
Poor
which
Megatron.
is
They were just stomping on him, dude. They were
yeah.
just
They're like, yeah, sorry, man.
mhm.
And Optimus Prime sounds really John Wayne-ish here too. He says some line that was like very like, "Hey, Pilgrim."
Yeah, he often does though. He often
Yeah.
sounds
Well,
like
it's part of the whole sound of that Peter Cullen did for Optimus Prime.
mhm.
But oh well, we kind of completely missed the opportunity here to talk about Wheeljack pulling out an invention that only lasts like 5 minutes. His force field, and it's like, oh, do a force field, it won't really last long.
Yeah.
Dude, you
It was
guys
so
fly through
inconsequential
space.
that it was like who cares? Why did they even put that in there? Like
Nah,
they
buy
could
a
have
little
had
time.
dude, they could have had more like riding electric snakes or drunk Decepticons, man. They cut out
Dude,
Ravage
I would
howling at the
watch.
moon for that, for the
I
force
would,
field.
yeah, I would watch an entire episode of Drunk Decepticons at a party. Like,
It was so good.
yeah, she won't talk to me. I don't know what's wrong, man.
Man. And so then they throw the Braun throws
Yeah, he like
the heart of Cybertron.
he's the strongest Autobot. He throws this heart of Cybertron into orbit, and it like goes like I just saw you roll your eyes. He's like,
2,000 feet. He throws it 2,000 feet or something like that.
well,
2,000
it's like a
miles.
mile, mile and a half. He keeps going further, and like
Perceptor shoots it.
Perceptor turns through the microscope and like does a sniper shot in orbit or whatever. I don't know. Well, so that was one of the things like during later incarnations of Perceptor and like the later comic stuff that they've done more recent times. He's always a sniper, and I was like, why is he a sniper? I mean, yeah, he's a microscope on his. That's like micro stuff. That's not like a
It's not a
telescopic.
telescope.
Apparently, like this is where he becomes a sniper. He shoots something out of orbit. So
Yeah, who
hey,
knows?
he and then Braun is like, this is my buddy.
And now they're friends. He doesn't want to bully him
Yeah,
anymore. Now they're friends because he
yeah,
actually
he
did. Yeah, because
he
he was
does.
giving him a hard time. We didn't touch on this, but he gave him a hard time because he doesn't really do things in the field. He doesn't
Yeah,
fight basically.
he's a
Like that's
scientist,
the
man.
like that's the well. I mean, like that's the like that's that real world factors creeping in here. That's that kind of goes along with a Reagan era muscular patriotism.
Oh
I
yeah,
think that if you're not in the army or you're not fighting for the country, then you're not really doing things. You're just doing science, and
you're not a
that
real
doesn't help
soldier.
anything. Like all right,
Yeah,
so yeah, I don't know if that was intentional or what, but that was kind of a weird message that I got out of it. But yeah, so that
that's
was
probably
and that was it. That was it.
that's probably the message you're supposed to get from it. Braun is like a very militant, gruff guy, and Perceptor's the nerd who does all the stuff that like helps him out. So
But he still ended up having like to do like soldiery action stuff to get the respect of the soldier instead of like proving that science was the way to. I mean he used science, but not like but he still had to go and like swing across chasms
yeah.
and do video
Well,
game
look,
platform stuff. But
Lifeline and GI Joe had to do some heroic things, even though he's a pacifist. Same thing here, Perceptor. He did his own kind of thing.
yeah,
It's the whole pacifism. In a wartime, pacifists can't really be pacifists, but whatever you want to draw from that. It's definitely a episode of its time.
yeah, no, that's accurate. I think yeah, I mean like I said, it definitely is
Yeah.
kind of Reagan-y,
Oh yeah.
but
This
that
whole
said,
show is.
this episode was absolutely amazing. I loved almost every second. The only thing that at the end was just kind of like a full stop. But
Yeah.
this was so good. This was I mean this had so many cool things in it. It was so funny with the Decepticons like getting totally hammered off of it Energon. Like, yeah, who knew you could drink it? Who knew that? That was so cool.
Yeah.
All the stuff from uh like Fantastic Voyage was really cool. You got some new characters you haven't seen before. The only thing that I think that really drug it down was that like I got the Decepticon or the Constructicons were back and they didn't even form into Devastator. Like all this, they just teased me with these guys being there. I just could
Yeah. The
like
jobbers.
That would have been cool.
Yep.
All that said, though, this was an extremely enjoyable episode, and I laughed constantly through this episode. And so, Kid Brain on this one is gonna go. I'm gonna go 4 electric snakes out of 5. Adult Brain, however, this is unprecedented here. Adult Brain's gonna have to give it 4.5 borrowed bootleg Motley Crue cassettes out of 5 because I had an absolute blast watching this episode. This was so good and so fun, and I wish that I wish this dude just wrote every episode of Transformers like forever. This was one of my favorite episodes so far. Definitely, probably the best standalone episode. This was I can't, like I said, except for the tease of Devastator and the abrupt end, I can't really think of many bad things to say about this one. This was real cool.
Yeah. Actually, this is one of those episodes that I did not remember as a kid, and then years later I watched it. I'm like, this is weird, man. It's an episode I guess maybe I probably watched when I was younger, but I really didn't understand why it was so good. So yeah, honestly, man, from Zentradi women to there's a heart like green crystals to arboreal giant snakes, drunk Decepticons. That was the best part of this. I wish that could have been half the episode. I would have loved to hear those conversations. Hammered Soundwave would have been fantastic. But this is one of those ones that really I enjoy a lot. The whole premise of it, like the big broody guy who's going to be giving the scientists a hard time, that was like an afterthought. The rest of this episode was pure gold. So yeah, man, I'm gonna definitely have to give this 4.5 Zentradi women out of 5. Beautiful episode. I loved it. Green crystals and all. Riding electric snakes through the body of Megatron. Perfect.
It was so much fun.
Yeah.
Good. Well, I'm glad. I'm real glad because I watching this. There was times where I was watching this and I was like, certainly the fandom has to love this episode. Like, and I was afraid this was gonna. I'm always afraid there's gonna be one that like I just love or one that I hate. That the general consensus is the polar opposite. You know what? Like if it's just like, well, I didn't. It was all right, and you're like, no, it was good. That's fine. But if there's one where I'm like that was just and everybody and the general fandom is like, no, that is the worst episode of Transformers. I don't like, no. I don't know if I could handle that. So no, I was real happy that
if we had gotten the argument between Rumble and Starscream and Ravage howling in the moon, this probably would have been a 5 out of 5.
Yeah, I think that would have
so good.
If I could have seen Devastator do something, that would have been cool too. Maybe he got
drunkenly
and they formed Devastator and he was like falling apart. That would have been pretty cool.
That would have been great. That would have been perfect. No, man, I'm right there with you. This is fantastic. A great episode. This is a lot of fun. I'm loving this.
So speaking of getting drunk though,
okay,
let's talk about this. Let's have a little footnote about this bar because I felt like we talked about this Nazi bar that is opened in my town.
Oh my god!
So
please.
Okay, so the thing is, I can't tell if these guys are like, or what the deal with them is because they're called, oh god, what are they?
SS Beerworks.
SS Beerworks is the name of this place. SS capital S beer BEIR or BIER in German. It's like you put the letter S and the letter S on anything, and you're like, oh, I don't know, man. And
but you put it with something German.
But then they put it right before something German. But they're saying that the name of the place is like Secret Sagittarius Beer Works or something like that. And I'm like, I don't know that all this occultism is really helping the case here. So the thing is that I'm looking and I'm trying to find some I'm looking for like some National Front or like Iron Storm or and here's the thing is that I don't normally talk about politics on this show, but I'm just gonna go ahead and say that I'm very much against any of these sort of white supremacy groups, like very very against any of this kind of skinhead like Nazi skinhead Ku Klux Klan trash, and you should be too, but I'm always I try to be very aware of the symbolism these groups carry so that I can recognize these things while I'm out, and protect myself and protect people around me, and warn them, hey, look, man, like, hey, don't go to that place because there's they got some Nazi runes in there, and that doesn't look good. So anyway, so yeah, so there's all this in the name of the name of the place, and I'm looking on their page, and I'm like, I don't know. There's an event, and there's a thing called like a band called Folk Storm or something
it's
like
Stormfolk.
Stormfolk. That's right, Stormfolk, which is very easily transforms into Sturmvolken, and is that's you look at these people and you're like, man, these guys went to the barber and were like, just give me the Nazi haircut, give me the Hitler, give me the Hitler dude. I want it shaved all the way up on the side like a Nazi. I want it like this.
Aries 88 beer.
They have a beer called 88. All right. And so they have a beer 88. Called 88. And so, okay. So if you're not aware of this reference here, Nazis use that as like neo-Nazis use that as like a dog whistle when talking to each other or whatever, because of the Germans had guns called the 88s in World War II, but also because the letter H is the 8th letter of the alphabet.
Mm-hmm.
And so 88 or HH is Heil Hitler. And so, but what I have since found out, and I cannot, like, I don't know if this is just like deep coded, but like their whole gimmick is like astrology or something like that, right? Hence the secret Sagittarius, the SS beer works.
Yeah.
But there are 88 constellations. That's why that beer is called 88. But
I'm sorry.
Here's the thing: is that a friend of mine. I have a group chat with some guys from work, and like we sat there howling, laughing, making up all these dumb like Nazi themed beer names, making fun of this place in our group chat. And so we went on their Facebook page and started asking, "Hey, do you have the Pans Sour 4?" And they kept deleting our comments. So finally, I just posted, "Are you guys actual Nazis, or are you just really bad at branding?"
I got to read the post. You sent this screenshot to me. So, are you guys a Nazi bar, or are you comedically inept at marketing and branding? That was the toast. That was the post.
But they blocked all of us from the page. They banned every one of us from the page. And so, like, it's like, I don't know. I guess they're gonna brew up like some Edelweiss ale next, or something. Like, and so, guys, like, I don't know. And I was talking to a friend of mine about it, and I'm like, "Is this a Nazi place? I can't tell." And he's like, "Well, even if it isn't, it doesn't matter, because that element is going to see that and be like, oh, hey, they're going to throw the the secret handshake about that place. That's going to become like some fascist adjacent thing." So I apologize for going so off on that. What's that?
Make sure you wear your armband in there to like signify who you're with.
Oh yeah, you gotta have armband on. But yeah, sorry for that tangent. We died. I've been talking to Evan about this all week. We've been dying.
I'm dying.
And it's pretty funny.
It looks like a joke. It looks like someone made this up for a skit.
But to deepen the story, the whole place is owned by a small, tiny Thai woman. So I don't know.
What?
I don't know. I'm completely mystified, and I don't want to go there to find out, because like,
you don't want to give a business, but
I'll mouth off for this kind of stuff in public and get kicked out, and I don't want to do that. So yeah. Yep.
Okay, well, thanks for that story, because it's I don't even know where to go from there. But I will say this, guys: if you like what you hear, if you like what you see on the YouTube, if you like what you hear, give us a good rating on a platform. Send it to your friends. Send it to your parents. They may if you're young enough to be Trigger, who's on our Discord, your parents might actually get some references. Oh, you look like you want to say something.
In regards to Trigger is amazing, and made me for my birthday, made me the most amazing piece of art of Soundwave for my birthday, and sent
Yep.
it to me, and it is fantastic. It is currently adorning the wallpaper on my cell phone, and
Yeah, man.
fantastic. Trigger, thank you so much. Once again, we have the best fans,
Super
and
cool.
that was really fantastic, and that actually meant a lot. And thanks.
Yeah, I gotta say, speaking of our fans, people, I don't have so much fans, but people we talk to all the time. It's kind of weird to say fans because like I feel like
You just
and
just
like we're friends.
yeah, we're just
Like
there's people on Discord at this point.
yeah,
So
I went in and like expressed my feelings about a certain subject yesterday on our Discord because I needed a bully pulpit for a few seconds, and Danny comes in there. He didn't have to totally agree with me, and he didn't totally agree with me. We could talk about it, and that's the cool thing about it. You know, there's enough air room for everyone. It's kind of cool to have different people have different ideas about things, and it's cool to have people like Danny in there, people like Tim in there, people like Trigger in there, us in there is always cool. Boo is always in there. He's always giving us a lot of good input. This it's just nice having these people to talk to, and like it's not like I feel like we're not screaming into the void. So it's kind of cool to have a community growing like that. Jess, I know you're behind on things. I emailed Jess recently about things and to make sure she's okay. She is. So she's going to try to get caught up. So I'm glad to hear she's doing okay.
oh, good.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know. I worry about people when I don't hear from them. I know it's silly, but that's just the way I am. I know
Same.
you are too.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Okay. Going back to what I was saying before. If you like what you hear, give us a good rating, share with a friend. If you're on YouTube, give us a thumbs up, share the videos. I'm trying to make the videos better and more immersive every week with help from Boo from AxalonUnderground.net. He's giving me some good guests from the episodes. Or if you're like my wife, GIFs of the episodes that I could put into the stream to make it more immersive and make you understand what we're talking about more.
I prefer the Spanish pronunciation of a heath, actually.
Okay. You always have to be different. Okay. So I'm gonna do that. Once again, I'm gonna leave on the link for the GoFundMe for the Sunbow archive guy, Simon Lech. I don't know how he's doing. I haven't checked on that. I've had a lot going on myself. But if you can, spare some time, go to the Sunbow archive page. It's a really cool page. Lots of good information. That's where I got the information about the extra dialogue that was cut from the episode and lots of other things too. I'm going to post some pictures, during the episode, especially of like a huge panoramic of the inside of Megatron's chest or whatever. All these kinds of things are on the Sunbow archive. Really cool stuff. And so yeah, then join the Discord. Its links are always in the show notes. Come say hi, hang out. David, really cool. Like we got a really cool friend showing up, David Cunningham, right? Cunningham. He does, huh? Yeah. I make sure I got the last name right. It's kind of like riffing at this point. He was one of the people who like founded the one of the a YouTube page that really went into like giving lots of voices to the IDW comics. Really cool stuff. Really cool stuff to check out. I was already a fan before I knew he joined the page. So big fan of that. Also we have our friend Justin from over the pond. He's over there checking in with us every so often. It's just a cool little community like building that we all get to know each other pretty well that way. Even though Ed's going to turn off notifications this next week because he's too afraid to face the fans.
Man, I just don't feel like being added about lizards. That's all I'm saying.
Yes, reptiles, man. So yeah, I'm gonna go to call it here. Hang out and talk to us on the socials. Email us if you want to edhatestransformers@gmail.com, morethanmeetstheseguys@gmail.com, whatever you want to do. We'll talk to you. And so go ahead and call it here because I'll keep on rambling for another half hour if you let me.
Same.
So you have any quotes for us today, man?
No, I don't have a quote. Just go to SS Beerworks Facebook page and ask them if they're Nazis.
That's perfect, man. All right. With that, I'm gonna take off, you guys. See you next week.
Roll out.
See ya. More Than Meets These Guys podcast is performed by Evan Johns and Ed Strickland. Research is done by Evan Johns, Ed Strickland, and with special research help from Boo of the AxalonUnderground.net. Graphics and images in the video portion are created for the podcast exclusively by C. Hooper. Special thanks to everyone who makes this podcast more enjoyable every week.